Hello YouTube, this is the Bucket coming at you today with my Harrington and Richardson H&R 922. This is a 9-shot double action, single action revolver made by Harrington and Richardson. My version right here is the 4-inch. They made these in a 2.5-inch and a 6-inch barrel version. And they made these guns from 1927 to 1982. And if you want to get a rough idea of how old yours is, you can go ahead and check your serial number, and if it's got a letter prefix on it, you know it was made after 1940. So mine's a K serial number, so I know mine was made after 1940. So Harrington and Richardson was a company that was founded in 1871, and the original founder of the company had ties to Smith & Wesson. They broke off and they wanted to make their own company making revolvers, making long guns, and wanted to compete in a different market than maybe Smith & Wesson and Colt was. Harrington and Richardson has always made really high quality firearms, but they've made firearms that maybe lacking a couple of the features that maybe a Colt or a Smith & Wesson would allow it to be a little bit more budget friendly. So they had high quality products, but they just had products that were really just more budget friendly for people that just could not go a different direction. And this is a really perfect example of one of their guns. So you've got an all-steel gun, you've got double action, you've got single action, but it's missing out on a swing out cylinder. So how they did this, they have a button right here, and you push down on this button and you could take out the retaining pin and just drop out your cylinder. Now, obviously, it's not quite as convenient as maybe having a swing out cylinder, but it was a way that they could not have a couple of those extra machined parts and allow somebody to still have a really functioning firearm. So you got 9 rounds in the cylinder. It does have a extractor. You just have to use the rod for it. And I found that after you play around with it for just a little bit, you find yourself really being able to operate the gun really, really quick and easy. And the reason I picked this gun up was I was thinking, hey, what are my other options than maybe buying a Wrangler that's made not out of steel, maybe buying a Heritage Rough Rider, it was single action army style 22 that is pretty inexpensive. And I found guns like this at gun shows, at pawn shops, and I thought to myself, man, I should just pick one of those up and see what it was like. And I found that this was just a lot more fun than a Heritage Rough Rider. I love the fact that you've got the double action and you have the single action. I love the fact that it's made out of really high quality materials, and it was just super fun to shoot. So you got your trough sight, you've got a fixed front sight. The grip is just, it looks a little goofy because it's so big, but it was really felt great in the hand. It was a natural pointer, and you know the Bucket just does not shoot revolvers nearly as good as his auto loaders. And this one, I was hitting steel nonstop, 8-inch to 14-inch steel at anywhere from 7 yards to 20 yards. And it was just so much fun. Now, the downside that I had with my particular one is either somebody has come in and fiddled with the mainspring, or in the over 50 years since this was produced, the mainspring has just gotten a little weak, which means I was struggling with a lot of light primer strikes. Now, the fact that it's a double action, single action, I just kept running that double action trigger and it would come back around to those rounds. And every single time they ended up shooting every single round, but you ended up with that hammer dropping, not going boom, and obviously for me, the anxiety, the stress just entered a little bit, and I ended up with a little bit less accuracy than I would have wanted. So when I shot at 10 yards, you know, I had good hits, but I just found when I would hit that light primer strike, I just would rush my next shot, and I was shooting a little bit to the left. Now, this is a 6-inch circle with a probably at least over 40-year-old revolver that was malfunctioning from time to time. I'm still really happy with that. This gun was probably the most accurate I've shot a 22 revolver ever with. And I just kept going back to it, kept going back to it, kept going back to it. And so I would say to you, you know, if you're a gun owner and you're thinking to yourself, man, I don't want to spend a ton of money on a 22. I want to get something a little bit different. You know, going to a gun show, going to a pawn shop, seeing what's out there, knowing about companies like H&R or Harrington and Richardson, and knowing that, you know, there are really great other guns out there that are maybe a little different and a little bit cooler. I mean, I'll be honest with you. If I took this to a gun range, I think people would look at it and go, hey, what is that guy shooting? That's something a little bit different. And I just had a lot of fun with it. And if you really wanted to, you could start tinkering around and seeing if you could do something to adjust that mainspring so maybe you would get a little bit more reliability. Because I'll be honest on this one, I'd say in my 9-shot revolver, I would range anywhere from 5 on the first strike to maybe 7 or 8 on the first strike. Meaning, I don't think I ever once had a full cylinder of all 9 shots go boom on the first try. That being said, every single time I picked up this revolver, by the time I put it down, all 9 shots went down range, and I was shooting with a pretty good accuracy. So definitely think to yourself, hey, maybe I want to go something a little bit different than what everybody else has, maybe higher quality than maybe what a Heritage Rough Rider will give me, and just maybe something a little bit different, a little bit cooler. So do keep your eye out for something like this. It's definitely a lot of fun. I think you would have a lot. I think you'd really enjoy it. So I do want to thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. All the likes, the comments, the shares are really appreciated. Do think about subscribing to the channel if this is the first video you've ever seen with me. I bring up lots of different things, from maybe budget-friendly guns like this 922 here to World War I, World War II guns, and some of the newer stuff as well. So check out what I've got to offer. And as always, you stay classy, YouTube. Little Middle Baby Bucket, do you want to live in California?
No!
Why?
Because I'm not a communist.